Co-wrote.
Co-written.
I never co-write a song. I'm from North Carolina. I never co-write songs in North Carolina.
Sound like my
Just
family.
make up words. You're a songwriter. You can do
I
that.
never co-wrote until I came to Nashville. You know, in Nashville, that's a big deal. And so I wanted to ask you guys, to them, how do you find co-writers? And then once you do, how do you determine that whole split thing? You know, how does that thing get panned out? So
I'll answer a little of that. I just wrote a song just while we were up here called Bloom. And I'm going to ask Rebecca to co-write it with me. I haven't finished it yet, but in my mind I've already got it, you know, focused. So that's what the good thing is. Even if you don't have it, fake it for a while till you get to the place of...
Yeah.
No, co-writing is amazing. I came from Michigan. I didn't know what that term meant. How many of you have co-written? And have you heard the term, but you don't really know what it is? It is interesting. I wrote some things down about co-writing because these are things that I got shafted on my first co-write. I won't say who, but it was a Christian artist and a writer. And it was a #1 song, but I learned a lesson. So that's what I figured on it. But don't think of your songs as untouchable and precious. If you want a great song, if you want to write some of the, if anybody wants a copy of this, these are just some things. The best kind of co-writes are the ones where both collaborators feel like they've written something better than either could have written alone. That's an important thing. The goal is to create more and better songs. Co-writing can become a big part of the process. Discuss percentages in advance. Now what that means is, after writing a lot of songs, my assumption is that all from scratch collaborations or even splits. If Brian and I say, hey, let's go back and write something, he brings an idea or I bring it, it's split 50-50. Right?
Yeah, you don't want to, no.
Right?
You know what, you don't haggle, and I'll just say this real quick, you don't haggle, if I walk in the room with the 3 of us or the 4 of us, it's 33 1/3 or 25%, you don't sit there and count lines and count words, because you know what, to be honest with you, I don't have time for that kind of thing.
And
that
it's
kills
bad.
the
Well, and in
creative
co-writes,
process.
some days you're on, some days you're not. Some days you're bringing the idea, some days you're bringing the melody, some days you're, you know,
Some
and there's
days you're
nothing.
bringing the coffee.
Some days you're bringing the coffee, and some days, you know, Brian told me a lot when I first started co-writing. I would get so flipped out if I felt like I didn't contribute enough to the song, and he would always say, "Don't discount the conversation that got you to the idea that got you to the song." Because the conversation, sometimes maybe I said something just in passing that I didn't even remember saying, and he goes, ooh, you know, and then an hour later after talking for a while, he's like, well, you said something that, you know, blah, 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 and that got us to the idea or whatever. And so, you know, you just, in Nashville, you get in the room with 3 people, it's 33 1/3. I mean, you know, you can sit and word count and haggle over everything, but that's pointless.
Well, I was just going to say, but there are definitely the other side of the splits that I've even been in where, you know, especially in LA, and I won't say any names either, but where literally people are saying, oh, well, I said this line, so I should get this, and
There are different ways,
world.
but
that's not my favorite co-writes, by the way.
So do that up front. Really, it's hard. We're artists and musicians and writers. We don't like to confront. I didn't like to confront. I didn't like to say, well, are we going into this? So it's hard, but it's way easier at the beginning to figure that out. I always, even on lyric sheets to this day, we get it done. We look at each other, and I go, let's sign initial on that lyric page. A lot of people don't even do that, but because you can, if you're writing 50 songs in 2 weeks, you won't remember either.
Oh, yeah.
And so we've scribbled on 3 pages. On one of the pages, I'll write my initials and that other person, so we know that right then and there, that's what we agreed to.
We do that too, because then if that song's a big hit, then on eBay you can get some.
You have autographs already that you can just. But when in doubt, just a little piece of advice that I was given when in doubt, be more generous with your splits. I mean, really, it's not the last song you're ever going to write. You know, at the end of the day, the relationship with your co-writer is more important than another 3% or 5%.
Now, it is different if I'm stuck on a song and I haven't gotten the chorus I want, and I come and I say, I've written this, and then you bring it to somebody and say, can you help? Then you still talk through, that might be just 25%. It doesn't matter if the song sells 1,000 units. It matters when they sell 1 million, and that's where the fights come. So, because
It's not an issue until there's a lot of money involved.
Yeah. And then you see the character of people. So, one other thing the other thing is when you write something, and this is, it's just kind of, it's considered bad when discussing your collaborations later to state that you really wrote most of it or any variation thereof. The bottom line is that without your collaborator, the song wouldn't be the song that it is, no matter what was directly or indirectly contributed. Our drummer, Chris McHugh, he plays with Keith Urban now. Chris had this idea, and he came to us and said, man, I like this eighth wonder of the world, and that's all he said. So he said, man, that's Mark and I and Gordon kind of took that idea and we wrote a song. So we split it 30-30-30, and for him, just the idea, all he said was, this is cool. And he got 10% for doing, really just giving us energy. So that's how that was split, just so you know a specific example. It was called The Eighth Wonder of the World. It was on our Freedom album. I'll plug that.
We're going to have to, just for time purposes, get to just our last question, and then we're going to take questions from you guys. So just get your questions ready now. Just kind of have them in your mind. We want to actually throw to the video because we've got a question from an artist. So let's take that right now.
Hey everybody, my name's Chantel Ogden. And
That's pretty broad, but...
Yeah, well, I mean, for me, I would say, you know, as many people as you can meet. I mean, networking is the #1 thing. Whether that means going to shows or, you know, going to Music Row or in Cool Springs or whatever, if you're, you know, wherever the labels are or publishers, just trying to get your foot in the door and meet people. And I would say you guys probably agree to that. To
I have
some
two
extent.
pieces of it, two ways to answer that. Build relationships and hone your craft. You got to be good. You got to be great. You don't have to be good. You have to be great in this town. There's a lot of good songwriters. There's a lot of great songwriters. You got to be, you know, you've got to be at a level where you can like go to the Bluebird Cafe and listen. That's the level that you need to be at. You know, your songs have to compete with those songs.
The majority of you probably are not from here, though, right? So you don't have that avenue available to you. And some of you may, I'll say this to her question, is A, have tough skin. Learn to understand that no is going to happen more than yes. I mean, for every song, every 10 songs I write, if one makes it somewhere, you know, I feel that's successful. You know, it's hard. And you have to understand that if you hold on to them like they're your little babies and you're not willing to, Stephen Curtis Chapman, I said to him one time, I said, man, dude, you've written some great songs. And Steve said, he goes, nah, I don't know if I've ever written a great song. And I looked at him, he goes, maybe I've rewritten some great songs. And the rewrite process is something that you've got to be willing to, when you go in and a publisher says, that really doesn't make sense here and that. And I literally had this. I wrote a song, and my publisher at the time, I felt like I got my 3rd grade spelling test back, you know? And then they circled this one line in the chorus, and they said, that's your song. Go write that. And I was like, well, wait, the song is there. And they go, no. And if you're not willing to do that, you know, if you're going to go, well, they don't know what they're talking about. Back home where I'm from, everybody loves that song. Well, then go back home. I mean, it's just, I didn't mean that to be ugly. I was just saying.
So you have to, I mean, the bottom line is you have to be teachable. You have to be moldable. You have to be willing to learn.
We've got a little bit of time for some questions from you guys. Raise your hand. They're going to bring you a mic. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from, but quickly get into your question, okay, so that we can get as many as possible. Hear me out. As the mic is coming to you, get your question in your head. You ready? You ready? Lay it on us.
Ready?
Go.
Okay, when writing a song, you obviously have to have a great subject and a great idea and all of that. You obviously get ideas from maybe your wife or from passing, talking with a friend. Maybe you hear a title or something. Whenever you go to sit down and write a song on a piece of paper with a group of people in a room, do you talk about ideas first, obviously, or do you already have like a plan in mind, like a plan of action, to go towards? And do you write the lyric or the music first?
First, we drink lots of coffee.
In a co-write situation, we'll come in yesterday in my co-write. We sat down, there's three of us, and we said, well, what are we going to write about today? And we all kind